This podcast is part of the Planet Broadcasting Network.
Visit planetbroadcasting.com for more podcasts from our great mates.
Hi everyone, just us at the top of the show to tell you that the Melbourne International Comedy Festival starts in just 2 weeks.
What?
I
have to start writing my show.
We're performing what? In just 2.5 weeks, you can see Jess and Matt do full runs, which means 3.5 weeks of their shows. Jess, your show is called?
Almost. It's on at 6 p.m. at the Greek Centre, 5 p.m. on Sundays. You can get tickets at comedyfestival.com.au.
And Matt?
Monkey House, and it's on in Brisbane from the 10th, which is yesterday, I think, till the 15th. Then in Melbourne for the full run, and then in Sydney late April for only 4 nights. And you can get tickets via mattstewartcomedy.com/gigs. Just go to mattstewartcomedy.com and there's a button right there. Dave always makes fun of me for that. I've gotten the rhythm. I can't stop saying it. And if you use the discount code podcast for mine or Jess's shows, you get 20% off.
So cheap. You should definitely do it.
And you can use that code because we are doing live podcasts at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival starting on Sunday, March 28th, Saturday, March 28th, pardon me, and the 3 Saturdays after that. 2 o'clock at the European Beer Cafe. Tickets are on sale now, and the first 2 are very close to being sold out.
Yes.
So come on down.
It's going to be so much fun.
Awesome. Again, tickets at comedyfestival.com.au. I'll have links to all the shows in the description of this episode. Comedy, how good is it?
Real good. Ta-ta.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Do Go On. My name is Dave Warnicky and I'm sitting here with Matt Stewart and Jess Perkins who put a hand out to hold my hand and then pulled it away when I went in for it.
Is that why you said Matt's name first?
Yeah, he's never rejected my hand. Matt, come on. Straight in like that.
Oh, yeah, all right. Enjoy dying of coronavirus.
Yeah, man.
Did feel warm and sort of coronary.
Yeah.
Have I ever told you about the first time I went to a friend's house, and it was a girl's house in high school, and I met her dad, and I shook his hand, and I had no idea what he meant. He said, a little clammy, and I did not know what that meant, so I said, thank you.
That's very cute.
You have not changed because your shake was still a little
Yeah,
funny.
that's what made me think about that, yeah. So I've had coronavirus since I was the age of 13, so...
What was the dad getting at? Why was he trying to make you uncomfortable?
I think he was one of those trying to make, me nervous, and he didn't succeed because I didn't know what he meant. Oh, thank you, sir. Can I have another?
You won his respect. Oh, this guy's good. Thank you. He takes everything as a compliment. This guy has a lot of self-belief.
Love that.
Hey, Dave, explain, what's this show again?
This show, well, it's a little clammy. That's what it is. No, it's
That's probably fair.
Yeah, it's a podcast where we take it in turns to report on a topic usually suggested by a listener. And it is my turn to report on a topic this week. And to get us onto that topic, I ask you a question.
I love questions.
Here we go. My question for you, both of you is because you don't know what I've reported on. What is the most visited paid monument in the world?
Oh, what counts as a monument? The
What
Eiffel Tower?
counts as paid?
The Eiffel Tower does count, and that is the correct answer, sir.
Oh,
Yes.
well done.
Nailed it.
Today I'm going to be talking all about the Eiffel Tower.
Wow,
you-
that's cool.
Because we just recorded a bonus episode, and there was a mention of the Eiffel
Yeah,
Tower.
and I was hoping that no one was.
No
none
wonder
of
your
you,
hands are clammy.
I was really hoping none of you were going to go, yeah, that'll be a boring topic to talk about.
That'd be a weird comment for us to make, but I wouldn't put it past us.
I'm loving this as an idea because I know vaguely that it was not intended to be up there forever, and it was only meant to be up for a brief amount of time, and that people hated it for a while. So I want to know.
Spoilers.
I want this story fleshed out in my brain, or even to find out that those things are not true.
I was in a similar boat with this because have we all seen the tower?
Yeah.
Thought we would have, yeah. But also, it's so famous, but I didn't know that much about it. Despite, if you Google famous buildings, it comes up. And what I did this week was I put 3 famous structures.
Cool.
I put a statue and a bridge, won't spoil which ones, up for the vote of the Patreon.
Lady Liberty.
Yeah, and seriously. And
And the Ponte Vecchio.
yes.
The most famous bridge.
Oh, what a beautiful bridge it is. And the Patreon supporters voted for the Eiffel Tower, but only just pipped them. And it's only been suggested by one person, and that is Tom from England. And you can write when he suggests a topic, and there's a link in the description if you want to do that. Anyone can do that. And Tom from England says, why? He just writes in capital letters, because Dave said it. I don't know what that means, Tom, but good on you.
You must have, I guess you said at some point that it would make a good topic.
Yeah.
Great. Okay.
Well done, Tom.
And Tom was right.
Well
and
done,
so was
Dave.
I. Because here it is.
Wow. Full circle.
So, Jess, do you know, Matt just alluded to a bit of the story there, but do you know much about it?
I know that I think it wasn't supposed to be there for long.
Okay.
Originally, and people hated it.
God, I wish that was so wrong. Sadly, it is true, but it would be great if you were
I'm trying
interpreting Matt there being wrong.
I'm trying to put my finger on the name, who Eiffel was named. It was a man, wasn't it? Gary
it's a
Eiffel
band.
or something. Oh, band. Eiffel
Yeah.
64.
Yeah.
I'm blue,
Yeah,
It's named after them.
Has anyone done a cover band of them yet called Eiffel 69?
That would be Eiffel 60 nice.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, gosh. It's not
Oh,
going to
yeah,
get better than
funny.
that.
Are we doing it? Are we going to do it? Are we going to do the band?
Yeah.
Eiffel 69.
Yeah.
My balls are blue.
Great. Well, that's
All
our
right,
first hit.
They're all different, slightly different versions of that song. I'm working blue, dabba-dee-dabba-die, which means
You-
smutty.
You work exclusively blue.
I do work very blue.
you
Come
gone-
see me at the comedy festival. I work blue.
Wow, it is
I
so
say-
racy.
I'll work in a fuck there somewhere.
You
Dave,
say,
can you bleep that out?
I'll work in a farm.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
you say things that other people are too scared to say.
Yeah, like I'll work in a fuck.
Oh, well, I exclusively work in fuck. All right, let's go. The world's first World's Fair, then known as the Great Exhibition.
The world's first World Fair.
I mean, I have gone off script early. The first World's Fair, then known as the... It's technically a true fact, was just stated.
Yeah, but grammatically it was a nightmare.
The universe's first World's Fair, then known
we
as
know
the Great Exhibition, took place in London in 1851. The idea of the fair was to celebrate industry, commerce, and the arts.
Ugh.
You might have... No.
Why do we need a fucking fair for industry and commerce?
Oh, you're happy for the arts, though.
Of course. I live for arts fairs.
You might have heard of the famous Crystal Palace in London.
The soccer team.
Yeah, well, named after that palace, absolutely.
The Chinese restaurant.
Which came first? It's a real chicken and the egg. No one knows if
no
it's the
one
soccer
knows.
team or the building that came first.
It's sadly later burnt down.
A crystal palace.
Yeah, no, can you
Wouldn't have
believe
thought
that?
it could burn.
No longer there. But a lot of the things built for the great exhibitions or the World's Fairs would mysteriously burn down.
Interesting.
But it was originally erected to be the pavilion for people to exhibit their trades. Yes. Hashtag nays.
Erected.
So the world's first World's Fair was a big success, a world's first. And so every few years after that, more World's Fairs or World Expos, so sometimes called, were put on. Paris had the second one, then it went to Vienna, Philadelphia. We even had one in Australia in 1851. Both Sydney and Melbourne, a rivalry as old as time itself, competed to get the fair.
And instead they had it in Dubbo.
Well, Sydney struck first and put on the Sydney International Exhibition in 1879, but it mainly focused on agriculture and therefore wasn't officially recognised by the BIE, which we all know is the Bureau of International Exhibitions.
Oi!
That's what I say when I'm having a good time.
BIE! That's what I say on roller coasters. BIE!
Of course, you are referencing the Bureau of International Exhibitions. They didn't recognise the Sydney. They said that doesn't count.
Sucked in Sydney.
So Melbourne was quick to capitalise on this, and they put together an official World's Fair in record time.
Because it's the best city anyway. Nah, Sydney's probably very good. I should visit. Actually, come see me at the Sydney Comedy Festival.
The Sydney-Melbourne rivalry goes one way. Like, Melbourne just feels inferior.
Who in Melbourne cares? No,
No.
it doesn't exist at all.
It's
Which way
so
does
weird.
it go, do
It's
you
like
think?
Melbourne has an inferiority complex
Do you
with
reckon?
Sydney. Sydney don't care.
Melbourne doesn't care. Who in Melbourne talks about it?
I reckon there was definitely a thing when I was growing up.
Yeah,
Of
right.
Like, oh, bloody Sydney.
I don't think I've ever heard anyone talk about it apart from talking about how no one talks about it.
Right.
I'm talking about it going back to 1879 here.
Right, okay. Sorry. No, yeah, this is definitely true. It's definitely a real thing. The rivalry. But yeah, I don't ever think about it. I just think of Sydney as it's like very similar to Melbourne, only a bit prettier with better weather.
Much better weather.
And
It's a lovely place.
Beautiful bay.
It's just a nightmare to get anywhere.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that people talk about. It's slightly more expensive and the road system's confusing.
Lots of one-way streets.
But their public transport's better.
Yeah, the train's great.
And it's got more sunshine, better beaches.
You can get a train from the airport. Imagine.
And they're like similarly strong comedy scenes, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know anyone who gives a shit about it.
I fucking love that bridge.
Well, really-
I've talked about
that
it many
bridge is so
times.
good.
That actually came third in the vote, I'm afraid.
I'm obsessed with that bridge.
And which I'm hoping to get to the Sydney Harbour Bridge one day because actually I was looking into it. It has a pretty funny story. But
Does
anyway,
it?
You haven't got there yet.
have not got there. But you're ruining my point here of Melbourne.
Sydney.
No, yeah.
Thank you.
Those dogs up there.
And they bloody stapled it to
Tinseltown.
him. If that's a phrase, stapling something to someone. So
Sydney
1879.
really lipped it, didn't they, Dave?
Well, Sydney put on a shit fair, basically, and Melbourne put on a slightly better one, which was recognised as the 1880 World's Fair, which also attracted
By the EIE.
the BIE.
Yay!
Basically, Melbourne said, well, if that's not going to be recognised, we'll just put one on slightly later. And everyone that was part of the exhibition in 1879 just went to Melbourne as well.
Ah.
So
They did a road trip.
our beautiful Royal Exhibition Building in Carlton Gardens was built to host the event.
Oh, that's what
that's
Lovely.
there
That's what it's for, yeah.
That's a great building.
Yeah, it's World Heritage listed.
Oh, that's nice.
Paris, however, was given their fourth go at a World Expo in 1889. But this time, it meant even more to the people of France. Every year, the expo had a theme, previous themes being stuff like industry of all nations, agriculture, industry and arts, and new technologies.
Oh.
But then in 1889, France decided to shake things up a bit and went with the theme of the French Revolution.
Interesting.
Slightly more out
Okay.
there than
Yeah.
industry and arts. So 1889 was celebrating 100 years since the storming of the Bastille prison, seen by many as a major event in starting the French Revolution that saw a revolt against the monarchy. But because this celebrated the overthrow of the French monarchy, something that the French were extremely proud of, a lot of European countries still had monarchies at the time, so they officially boycotted the exposition.
Oh. So, like, we love our monarchy.
Including Germany, Austria, Hungary, Belgium, Spain, Great Britain, Italy, the Netherlands, Portugal, Russia, and Sweden all said you should not celebrate overthrowing monarchies.
Oh.
But it was 100 years ago
Yeah,
by this point, right? So, like, stop being so precious, the rest
they
of
were
you.
very precious. But,
Wait, which monarchy was overthrown 100 years ago?
no, 100 years before the 1889 exhibition. So the French Revolution
Right.
overthrew
yes.
the monarchy, and then 100 years later, there was, because France are very proud of it. Their national anthem is all about rising up against people that are enslaving you, basically.
Yeah.
And they were like, great, it's 100 years, let's celebrate. And other monarchies were like, oh no, we still have a king and queen. We do not want to be involved.
You're right. Yes.
But this didn't stop 61,000 people flocking to Paris to exhibit their industry, commerce, and the arts.
61,000, huh?
So it's going to be a big one. And that's
Can
just,
1,000 of you stay home, please?
it's actually 61,722, but I just rounded down.
Couldn't you have rounded
Round
up?
up.
62.
100,000 people.
And that's just people putting on the exhibits.
Oh, okay, so there are more
people with-
Whoa.
People with
61,000 people put on exhibits.
put like-
Holy shit.
That's how big these things are.
Holy shit.
And they're showing off inventions of all sorts, different types of music and art. Yeah, it's massive.
You know, in my old job selling air conditioning, I used to, twice a year, we'd do their home expos. And I reckon there would have been like a couple hundred people putting on expos. And you have a little hut. So I'd just sit in this little thing in the new exhibition. The old one's exhibition building and the new one's exhibition centre.
Yeah.
I'd be in there and you just sit there and people would come and go, think about putting air conditioning in my place. Tell me about it. I go, all right, well, it's a broad place to start, but it can cool and heat your home. Any questions? It was real fun, and I miss it a lot.
So Paris knew all eyes would be on it for the expo.
Yeah, right.
They wanted more than ever to make a mark on the world. It's celebrating 100 years of their country, basically. The idea of a 300-metre tower had been circulating in Europe and the USA at the time.
Circulating. Everyone's passing around with a note. Psst, psst, psst.
Yeah, what do you reckon? Idea of a tower. Pass it on. And France saw this.
A really big tower.
Really big. It's
Why the fuck have you written this down? I don't care.
It just says really big tower and they've underlined it twice.
Yeah, you go, okay.
Pass it on.
No, to who?
But it ends up, it gets all muddled.
Really big bower. Bowerbird. Let's make a real big bird. 300-metre bowerbird. 300-kilometre bowerbird.
You know what bowerbirds do? They collect things that are blue, da-ba-dee, da-ba-da, da-ba-dee, da-ba-da. Please do go on, please.
So France saw this as a ticket to impressing their visitors, a 300-meter tower. If it was achieved, it would be almost double the height of the world's tallest structure at the time.
Oh, wow.
So it's like if you take the Burj Khalifa, the currently the world's biggest building, which is over 700 meters tall now. Usually things go up by a bit at a time. But imagine someone just suddenly went, I'm going to double it.
Yeah,
I'm going to double
wild.
it. The Washington Monument was the tallest at the time. It had been completed in 1885.
Is that the obelisk?
Yes.
Or whatever.
You
The
nailed
two-toned
it.
obelisk. But I love the idea of, you said the way you worded it was France was hoping that they would impress their visitors. I'm just picturing like all of France sort of like meekly standing next to her going, sort of pointing up to her with their eyes going, huh? What do you reckon? Hey? And then there's like thousands of people coming through. Huh? What
Pretty
do you think
big?
of that? Pretty big.
Pretty big.
Little thing.
I reckon we've nailed the brief. It just says big tower underlined twice. Huh? Tapping it.
Huh? We did it. Huh?
The World's Fair would go on to be the catalyst for a number of famous buildings and structures. The world's first Ferris Wheel debuted at the Chicago Fair in 1893.
the Windy City, Chicago.
The Seattle Space Needle was built for the 1962 World Fair, which you may remember from the Frasier credits.
Yes, it's from the logo.
Of course.
Oh, baby. I
Hear the blues are calling.
I brought it up just for
and
this.
scrambled eggs.
Oh, my. And maybe I
Feel
feel a bit confused, but maybe I got you pegged. And I don't know what to do with that tossed salad and scrambled eggs. They're calling again.
Dun, dun,
Good night, Seattle. We love you.
So Hughesy
So that was built for the 1962 World's Fair, and who could forget the Sun Sphere, aka the Wig Sphere, built for the 1982 Knoxville World's Fair?
Yes, of course.
Is that real?
Yeah, it's real.
Oh, that's
That
great.
building is real on The Simpsons. The Wig Sphere. Thousands of boxes of wigs. But the proposed tower that I mentioned for the 1889 World's Fair would go on to be the poster child for the world's fairs around the world. But it wasn't always smooth sailing for the building today known in English as the Eiffel Tower.
Oh.
Ooh.
What was it known then in French?
The Wig Sphere.
Sphere.
So, the fair put the call out many years earlier for designs for this proposed 300-meter tower, which is just under 1,000 feet for our people that don't use meters.
So all it is at this point is big tower.
Big tower.
They don't. It's no design or.
Well, they had a brief. It stated they wanted, quote, to study the possibility of erecting an iron tower on the Champ de Mars, which is where it is now, with a square base 125 metres across and 300 metres tall. That's what they said. All in all, they had 107 entries to choose from, many of which ignored the brief asking for a tower to be made of iron.
Right.
In fact, all that stuff I just read out, apart from the 300-meter bit, most of them just ignored that.
Isn't that a fun thing that for you to do as you're picking which one you like? You're just like going, oh, that doesn't make it. Just screwing up one after the other, putting them into the bin. That makes it so much easier. And there was only one that designed something in iron, and they're like, all right,
Yeah, we'll go with
guess it's that one.
By default, we'll go with this guy. One of the most vocal front runners was architect Jules Bourdais, who proposed a 350-meter granite tower with a gigantic searchlight and mirrors on top that could illuminate the whole city.
Wow.
When questioned on how such a heavy column would actually be an engineering possibility, he declined to comment.
I don't want to give too much away.
Other entries included a tower that could double as a huge water sprinkler in case Paris ever went through a drought.
Oh, where's the water coming from?
I don't know. Paris is in drought. All right, fire up the pumps. We have no water.
That's the drought. If we had the water for the sprinkler, we just distribute that in a more sensible way.
A giant guillotine was even proposed to celebrate the revolution. Again, that's not an iron tower.
300-meter guillotine. Whoa.
That's too big.
It's way too big. But of course, none of these designs were chosen. The winner was submitted by engineer Gustave Eiffel's company.
Gustav.
At the time, Gustave was already thought of
Could it be?
as an engineering genius. He'd already had the skills to pull off such a feat.
Surely it wasn't named Eiffel Tower from the start then.
No, he just submitted the designs
Be like-
through his company.
Yeah. Like the Rialto being called Grollo Tower. Grocon Tower.
When they were going to call something Grollo Tower?
Probably.
Yeah, and then they've lost the money for it, I believe.
Ah.
So the Rialto was once the tallest building here in Melbourne.
Yeah, in the Southern Hemisphere, I think. A beautiful diamond in the Melbourne skyline. I love the Rialto.
Usurped
So much. Oh,
by the Eureka.
All too soon.
There's another one going up, I believe, that's going to maybe be
Yeah,
taller
apartment
than
something.
that. Yeah.
Apartment.
I think it's called Apartment 101, something like that.
But
Yeah.
you can live in it.
I think so.
Oh, I hate that. Too high.
Yeah. Yeah.
Too high.
The
to
5-minute
live.
commute up the elevator.
Yeah, God, fuck that.
You wouldn't do it?
No, too high. I
I'd
don't
be-
know how much clearer do I need to be, Dave?
Oh, it's called Australia 108. There you go. But it will have 1,100 apartments inside.
1,100. Imagine having 1,100 neighbours.
Well, you wouldn't. You'd have 1,099.
More than one person can live in an apartment, Dave.
I don't think so.
Hate you.
I've looked at the plans. They're very small.
Oh, wow.
There's 1,100 cupboards to choose from.
Whoa.
And
The
there's
rent
also
is $5,000.
There's also a penthouse, double cupboard. So Gustav Eiffel, or Eiffel, was born in 1832. His full name was Alexander Gustav Bonnickhausen dit Eiffel,
Wow.
which is an incredible name.
Love that.
Fantastic name.
He graduated from the prestigious École Centrale Paris in 1855, the same year that Paris hosted the Second World's Fair, and Eiffel was bought a season ticket by his mother.
Oh.
So these World's Fairs would keep coming up in his life. After a slow start working odd jobs, once given an opportunity to prove himself, he excelled. He had been hired to work on the 500-metre long Bordeaux Bridge, initially just given the responsibility of assembling the metalwork, but when the project manager resigned in 1860, Eiffel took over the entire project. It was a huge success, and from there he was asked to design railway stations, locomotives themselves, and aqueducts.
Wow.
His career was off. He was hired to help design the exhibition hall for Paris's second go at hosting the World's Fair in 1867. So it comes up again. When the Statue of Liberty's initial designer, Eugene Villars-le-Duc, unexpectedly passed away in 1879, Gustave Eiffel was hired as his replacement. So he also helped design the Statue of Liberty.
Wow.
Whoa.
He redesigned the interior of the statue to make it more flexible. The elasticity of Eiffel's design has been praised because the statue has to withstand winds from the New York Harbour, temperature changes, and other various weather conditions.
Yeah, she can touch her toes.
She is very...
That is impressive.
She's hyper flexible.
Yeah.
That'd be so fun. A big typhoon comes through and
She's
she's
bent
bending
over.
over. I can't touch my toes. This bloody concrete probably statue can.
This giant woman will devour us all. I was talking about the
Lady
statue.
Liberty.
The entire statue was erected at Eiffel's works in Paris, his factory, before being dismantled and shipped over to the United States. So he just had it there in his factory.
Wow.
Ah.
So, yeah, it's crazy that one man worked on two of the most famous structures in history.
Yeah.
By the time of the third Parisian World's Fair rolled around in 1878, Gustave established his reputation as one of the leading engineers of the time and designed many of the fair's buildings.
Oh, cool.
So every time it comes around, he's like, yeah, I'll work on another thing. Cool. His reputation as a pair of engineering hands almost certainly contributed to his company getting the job to erect the 300-metre tower. They knew he could handle it.
He was disembodied hands. That makes all this even more impressive. He's just a pair of hands.
And Dave, stop saying erect.
I will never stop saying erect.
Okay, well, I tried.
That's like asking a dancer not to dance.
What? I will always erect.
And so Eiffel is the name we associate with the tower. It's the Eiffel Tower.
Of
we all know
course,
that.
yeah.
But he didn't actually come up with the original design.
Ah.
That is attributed to, and let me have a crack at these French names,
Huh.
Maurice Koechlin and Émile Nougier, two senior engineers working for Eiffel's company. So he owned the company. Inspiration for them came from the Latting Observatory, which was built for the 1853 World's Fair in New York. Sadly, that building also mysteriously burned down 3 years later.
What? Are you going to go into this more? Or is this just
No, just
a mystery?
just at the time, it was harder to put things out, and they
Right.
built things from flammable materials.
Right.
So once a fire took hold. I don't know if that's why, but the iron building of the Eiffel Tower is a lot harder to burn down. I don't know if that's why they chose that.
That's not like the city that was outbid for the fair came in and burned it down.
If I can't have it, no one can. So Koechlin, who came up with the design, he made the first sketch of the idea, which still exists, and I will post a photo of it because it looks like about a 7-year-old's drawing of the Eiffel Tower.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you upgraded from 3 to 7.
Yeah.
It changed the picture in my
Yeah,
mind.
it's very different.
From crayons to grey leads.
Yeah, it's a grey lead, but it's still not. It doesn't look like an architectural masterpiece yet.
Right.
But it's just the idea's there. He described it as, quote, a great pylon consisting of 4 lattice girders standing apart at the base and coming together at the top, joined together by metal trusses at regular intervals, which, that's a description of what it looks like
That's
to
what
now.
it is.
They showed their design and the drawing to their boss Eiffel, who initially wasn't that keen, but he told them to keep working on it anyway. He asked Stephen Silvestre, the head of the company's architectural department, to take a look. And this is from the Eiffel Tower's official website. Silvestre proposed stonework pedestals to dress the legs, monumental arches to link the columns, a bulb-shaped design for the top, and various other ornamental features to decorate the whole of the structure. So he took their idea and just made it look more beautiful.
Gave it a bit of pizzazz. So
Yes.
certain, I don't know how do you say
Razzle dazzle.
je ne sais quoi. Razzle-dazzle.
That's how Silvestre would say it.
Yeah, I think je ne sais quoi translates to razzle-dazzle.
Yes, I believe that's correct.
So he gave it the appearance that, how at the bottom of it, it's got the 4 legs and there's arches over you would have stood under the archways. Those arches don't do anything. They are purely ornamental.
Very pretty.
That way they're not
arches.
there to hold the tower up. They just put that in to be like, it'll look more pleasing to the eye. We put the arch
Yeah, I
there.
did assume that was like used to brace or
Yeah.
something. That's cool.
So he redesigned, he made it more beautiful. So now there's 3 people that have worked in the design. They took it back to Eiffel, who liked this improved design a lot better, and he bought the patent for the design. He paid them for the design.
How much?
Yep.
I believe, I couldn't work out how much this is. I read 50,000 francs. Sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
Couldn't do the conversion from 1879
Yeah. A lot of moving parts there.
or 1884, and he submitted it to the Exhibition of Decorative Arts under his company's name. He applied and said, we'll build the thing in 5 years. After more presentations and a lot of red tape, Eiffel's company was hired and they were given the job.
So he paid 50,000 francs before even, as a gamble that it would hopefully get picked.
Put the money down. Well, maybe this puts it into perspective slightly. 1.5 million francs was given towards the construction costs, which is actually a quarter of what it was going to cost. So it's going to cost 6 million to build the whole thing. He's given 50,000 of these guys. Eiffel himself ended up putting in more than half the construction cost himself.
Whoa.
But because of this deal, he struck a deal with them where he was able to receive all the income from the commercial exploitation of the tower during the exhibition and for the next 20 years.
Whoa.
That's a good
And
deal.
remember, it's the most ticketed structure in the world. So people are paying to go up it.
Yeah.
This would end up making him a very, very rich man.
Whoa,
so
that's so smart.
He took the gamble, put the outlay, but said, okay, only if I get all the ticket proceeds. And they're like, all right.
Why would
a
they
good
agree
deal.
to that?
Well, because they were like, I don't think anyone else is going to be able to build this thing.
You got to get points. Is that what you do in a deal? You got to back end that deal. Get a real sweet back end. Is that a thing? Am I talking in?
I have no idea.
Will you say this at your expo? People asking about
I'm trying to talk in Hollywood jargon, but I'm possibly not doing it. You got to make sure you get a few points on that. Just make sure, you looked after on the back end.
So you get some of the rollover.
Yeah, if we make sure
Sweet
if
cash.
the rollover happens, then you're
covered.
involved there. They back up that truck.
So the design's been approved and announced a couple of years before the fair, but there, as you said, Matt, lots of doubt in the press as construction began in January 1887. Remember, nothing that big has ever been attempted before, and there was lots of doubt. Common questions were, how would the iron building survive in the wind? Will it just fall over?
We'll probably bolt it down, dickhead.
Jeez, that's a big question. You'd hope they'd have that answered before it started going up.
Yeah.
Another
fair.
question, where would they be able to find men that would be willing to work 300 metres off the ground? Could men even work that high up?
Oh,
Because no one's ever been up that high to work on a structure before.
right.
A bit like when also the Montgolfier brothers that launched the hot air balloon, the first hot air balloon, and they were like, will people be able to survive up there? So they sent the animals up instead. It's a bit like that. Now we go, oh yeah, people can work that high. But at the time, people were worried. It was even claimed that such a large building of iron would become a giant magnet and start pulling nails out of nearby buildings that would then fall down.
What was the logic there?
Eiffel declined to respond to such a wild accusation.
Yeah, right.
I refused to dignify that question with an answer.
That's so silly.
So they're the practical objections. It was also objected to on artistic grounds. A committee of 300, one member for each metre of the tower's height, formed. World-famous architect Charles Garnier was in charge of the group.
Ah, fructus.
He'd designed the Palais Garnier, the stunning opera house in Paris that you may have seen when you're there.
And the shampoo.
And the shampoo, and also the setting for the Phantom of the Opera. The group also included many famous writers and artists of the day, all who opposed the design. A petition called Artists Against the Eiffel Tower was published in 1887. Isn't that so weird?
Yeah.
Artists against it. And this is what they wrote. We writers, painters, sculptors, architects, and passionate devotees of the hitherto untouched beauty of Paris protest with all our strength, with all our indignation, in the name of slighted French taste, against the erection, sorry, Jess, of this useless and monstrous Eiffel Tower. To bring our argument home, imagine for a moment a giddy, ridiculous tower dominating Paris like a gigantic black smokestack, crushing under its barbaric bulk Notre Dame, the Louvre, the Dome of Les Invalides, the Arc de Triomphe. All our humiliated monuments will disappear in this ghastly dream, and for 20 years we shall see stretching like a blot of ink the hateful shadow of the hateful column of bolted sheet metal.
Amazing.
So they really hated it.
It is like people hate change, and that seems like that's always been true.
People really hated Fed Square when they started building it.
But haven't we all swallowed our words now?
Oh, I love Fed
It's
Square.
so beautiful.
There's so many things to do there.
Yeah.
So
Too many to list here.
they've got multiple
But I think
cafes.
we're still in the eye of the storm with that one. It's generations to come that will decide, I think, whether or not that was good or bad.
What was there before?
I think it was like an industrial sort of section. I can't even remember. When did it happen?
I was in grade 6 when they were building it.
It's the early 2000s,
2000.
and this is the one of Melbourne's main squares, opposite
Yeah.
our largest train station.
Mm.
And one of our most iconic pubs. But it's Young and Jackson.
Young and
Yeah.
Jackson.
And then on the other corner is a cathedral. But
Yeah.
I don't.
It's quite a. It's
I
quite
like
an
elements of it.
intersection.
I like that sandstone or whatever, that red
Yeah.
brick stuff. I really like the edge, the glass section.
Yeah.
I wish they had built the whole thing to look like that glass. And there's probably practical reasons why they couldn't. But that's the coolest looking part of it, I reckon.
I like Acme.
Acme's great. I think there's some really cool bits in there. There's
I like the pub.
the pub's good. The beer. Oh, I don't like that. Oh, it's fine.
There's a
fine.
7-Eleven in there.
There is a 7-Eleven in there, and it's
Yeah.
fine. It's
First time
very
I had-
small.
First time I ever had a spinach roll was in that 7-Eleven, so I mean, don't say
Wow.
nothing happens
First one
there.
I ever had was in the Eiffel Tower.
That's true.
No.
Oh,
At the 7-Eleven at the Eiffel
because
Tower.
there are 2 restaurants there.
Are there?
There you go.
There's lawns all the way around it. My memories are pretty vague, but I just remember it being the most perfect blue sky summer's day, and I just sat and read a book in the shade of the Eiffel Tower nearby. So nice.
It's a very beautiful spot. But at the time, people are saying it's going to ruin the city's skyline.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Gustave Eiffel responded to these criticisms by comparing his tower to the Egyptian pyramids, one of the other former record holders for thousands of years of the tallest structure. My tower will be the tallest edifice ever erected, by man. Will it not also be grandiose in its own way? And why would something admirable in Egypt become hideous and ridiculous in Paris? He said.
I love that. He's like equating two things that are not the same.
I know.
And then just going, all right, so the pyramids and the Eiffel Tower are the same. We all agree on that. Now, are you telling me you hate the pyramids?
Do you hate the pyramid? Huh? Do you hate everyone in Egypt? Is that what you're saying? Do you hate mankind? Okay.
Well, it's hard to argue with that.
He launches that into a 16-hour filibuster. It was disparagingly described by writers and satirists in papers and in pamphlets. It was the age of pamphlets. I love that.
Oh, yeah. Good, beautiful age.
Let's bring it back. A lot of comedians, for a while there, had newsletters. I reckon I'm going to start a pamphlet.
Like a physical pamphlet?
Monthly pamphlet I'm just going to start handing out.
Just
What do you reckon?
letterbox
Yeah.
dropping it?
Yeah. Put it
That
out
seems
there.
like a lot of work. I mean, people do still have newsletters. They just have them online now.
Just email them to
You
people.
could you could email it to people.
Could you
No, but I
call it
prefer a pamphlet.
Well, you could call it an e-pamphlet.
Yeah.
E-pamph. What is a pamphlet? You assume a pamphlet is a small version of a pamphlet.
Like a pikelet.
Yeah, so what's the
It's a
pamphlet?
small version of a pike.
Yes.
that pancake.
Is a book a pamphlet?
Yeah,
A larger pamphlet?
I guess so, yes.
Right.
Or a newspaper.
I'm saying yes, definitely. That's what a pamph is. But pamph is fun to say.
Pamph.
Pamph.
Anyway, I'm going to read you some descriptions of what they thought the Eiffel Tower would be. including in pamphlets and in newspapers. These are descriptions. Novelist and pamphleteer Leon Bloy. So these are all famous writers at the time. This is what they'd say it was going to be.
Yeah, but I've heard of Eiffel Tower. I haven't heard of this guy.
You haven't heard of,
what does that say?
You haven't heard of Bloy? Bloy's pamphlet?
No.
It's still going. One of the longest.
Bloy Boy.
One of the longest running pamphlets in history. He
Bloy
wrote
and his hoi polloi.
He described it as a truly tragic street lamp.
Blamp. Blamp? Blamp.
Street lamp.
Oh, I definitely heard
Street
blamp.
lamp.
Did you hear blamp?
Street lamp.
Am I having a stroke?
I heard
Possibly.
lamp, but I
Okay.
like blamp more.
I heard
I
street
thought that you
blamp.
were saying that's what he should. I thought you were saying he should have called it a blamp. and
No,
I was
I
with
heard
you.
you
That
say
would have
street,
got him.
street blamp, and I thought, why do you both know what a blamp is? And you're not. No one's reacting to blamp.
You never been blamping?
Never been blamping.
Poet and novelist Francois Copy said, "This mast of iron gymnasium apparatus, incomplete, confused, and deformed." They were hating it.
Wow.
Novelist Joris Karl Heisman, who was known for his wit, said, "It's a half-built factory pipe, a hole-riddled suppository."
Ooh.
Known for his wit.
Hole riddled suppository.
Yeah, I love that.
Okay.
But possibly the longest description was Mauserpant, who's a famous writer who is described as the master of the short story. Has not nailed the shortness here.
Baby shoes, never worn, for sale.
That was one of his. This high and skinny pyramid of iron ladders, this giant ungainly skeleton upon a base that looks built to carry a colossal monument of Cyclops, but which just peters out into a ridiculous thin shape like a factory chimney. Didn't really keep it short there, did he?
No. Could have trimmed a few words.
They hated it. So despite this intense criticism, cannot state how intense it was.
Yeah.
Don't you think it would not make you feel good going to bed at night? I'd be thinking about that a lot. Like self-doubt and stuff would be creeping in. If your whole city is telling you you're going to ruin Paris.
It's crazy now that we know how famous it is.
Yeah.
Like, it's so
Maybe he just-
quintessentially Parisian.
He could. He knew. He knew what it
Yeah.
would be. He said, It's like when your kids are yelling at you, saying, "I hate you." You say, "That's how you feel right now. That's cool, man. I get it. One day you'll appreciate me."
They don't get to you when they tell you they hate you. I hate you, Jessica.
No, it doesn't bother.
No, I love it.
Me.
Bounces off my back, makes me more powerful.
It doesn't bother me at all. I don't care that my kids hate me.
Why are you weeping, Jessica?
I'm not. I have hay fever.
Well, yeah, I really hope that he gets to live to the point where the appreciation is universal.
Yeah.
Because the other thing is, let's not forget that he's also put in all his money.
Yeah, right.
Not
this could
just-
ruin him.
His reputation and his company's reputation. It's also
Also
all
his money's
money.
reputation.
Yeah, his money's reputation.
How will his
Your
money go
money's-
to the bank?
Your money's name is mud around here.
Well, who will kiss him goodnight at night?
Good night at night.
Who would
That's my
kiss
money giving me kisses. It's not very loud because it's not a lot of money.
Oh, but his money is deafening.
Wow!
Actually, no, it's not because he spent it all.
Kissing him like that.
Ow! Offensively loud.
Yeah, it's annoying.
So despite this criticism, the Assembly of the Supports went ahead and began on July the 1st, 1887. And just 2 years, 2 days and 5 months later, the tower as we know it was completed.
2 years, 2 days, and 5 months. Wait.
What a weird order.
Wait. Yeah, is that what you said?
I meant to write 2 years, 2 months and 5 days.
Okay,
Right,
right.
Thank you for pulling me up on
I'm
that.
sorry, no, I was just repeating you, but then I realised
I
that
have
didn't
written-
sound
I just
right.
thought he was writing it poetically. Get the twos together
Yeah.
and then chuck the 5 out the back with the months.
2 years and 2 days.
And
Plus
5
5
months.
months.
Yeah, who cares about that?
Don't worry about it.
This was considered to be mind-blowingly fast at
That
the
is.
time,
I'm surprised.
especially considering all the elements were prepared in Eiffel's factory located on the outskirts of Paris, and then they were brought in.
Okay.
The tower is made up of 18,000 pieces, all specifically designed and calculated, traced out to an accuracy of 1/10 of a millimetre, and then put together, forming new pieces around 5 metres each.
Wow.
Then they bring those in and then assemble them again.
Whoa.
Love that. The accuracy for something so big to come down to 1/10 of a millimetre. It's wild.
Yeah.
Like what I couldn't see to my naked eye.
Yeah, but they have to be that precise.
Yeah.
Because they're building, there's 4 legs of it. They start in each corner and build up to that base. So if one of them's even slightly out, you're not going to get that bottom level right.
Yeah. If
like-
your eyes could put on some pants, though, that'd be good.
Naked Eye.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I could see
Thank
Matt
you
struggling.
talking me through that. I think it was like, yeah, and any sort of mini project I might do where I'll measure stuff out pretty much,
Pretty close.
pretty close.
Within like a metre.
And then you find it, this thing was meant to be a square. It's more like somehow it's a circle. I've got some measurement off here. Yeah, it's wild. But it's the different ways that people can operate, I guess. Eiffel and I do things a little differently. He's I'm a nerd who does things precisely. I'm like, hey, free and easy, baby. It's the Parisian way. There's a little Parisian in me. His name's Gerald.
Gerald.
Matthew, don't worry about the measure.
Okay, Gerald. Yeah, he's got me in a lot of strife.
About 300 workers put together the pieces on site. First, the pieces were assembled in the factory using bolts, and then they were later replaced by ones with thermally assembled rivets. A team of 4 men was needed for each rivet assembled. One would heat it up, another to hold it in place, and a third to shape the head, whilst a fourth's job was to beat it in with a sledgehammer.
That sounds sexy.
Yeah. All up, the tower had 2.5 million rivets.
What?
Whoa.
So it's a long job.
Absolutely riveting stuff there, Dave.
Thank you so much.
That is good.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, I just saw the double thing there.
So the main structural work was completed in March 1889. And on the 31st of March, Eiffel opened the tower by leading a group of government officials and members of the media all the way to the top.
So there was already like a lift there, or did they take the stairs?
Well, no, the lifts were being built still at that time. They weren't yet in operation, so the ascent was made by foot and took over an hour, mainly because Eiffel kept stopping to point out various features.
Oh, fun.
Well, that's good because I would appreciate that. Because I'd be
a
like,
little rest.
I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
Just give us a second. Once at the top, he unfurled the French flag.
Has the French flag always been the same as
Yeah,
it is now?
the tricolour. Yeah,
Right.
well, at the time then it was.
Oh,
already
I
was.
love a flag unfurling.
Oh, yeah. Unfurl that flag.
So after all the backlash, how did the public react? Well, it was an instant success.
Oh my
Oh.
God.
So the backlash was all before they'd seen it.
Oh, yeah, so the designs were out, and then they started building these bottom bits, and people started being like, front pages of newspapers and pamphlets and things were like, it's going to be a disaster. This is awful. Letters were written. Everyone was talking about it as it was being built, and he was just hoping. Everyone working on it was just hoping, all right, I hope this is a success. The World's Fair people were hoping as well, because they want it to be like, the centre point.
Yeah.
But like you said, at the very least, it's double the next highest structure in the world.
Yeah.
Or man-made structure. So surely there's something there.
That's
At the very
crazy.
least, it's like, we didn't know people could stand up there.
Yeah.
Surely that's amazing on some level.
Yeah, right? It's
Plus,
crazy.
it looks pretty cool.
Lifts were added to take the passengers up the tower, but weren't operational until 3 weeks after the fair. That was the only bit that they lapsed behind in time.
Okay.
Still, 30,000 people walked all the way to the top in those 3 weeks.
Wow.
Which is 1,710 steps.
1,710.
If you're going to walk all the way there. And quoting from Wikipedia here, but I did enjoy this all the same. Some of the protesters changed their mind when the tower was built. Others remained unconvinced. The writer who I mentioned before, Mausapant, who was the short story guy, supposedly ate lunch in the tower's restaurant every day because it was the one place in Paris where the tower was not visible.
I've heard about that guy.
Oh. What
That's-
a dick.
So who knows if that's true, but that's a great story.
It's a great line, great story, but it's also like, man, if you really hate it, you're supporting
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, every day.
Every day you're giving it cash.
You could just sit with your back to a window so you
Close your
can't
eyes.
see it anyway.
Yeah, look in a different direction.
Yeah, then you could your money doesn't have to go towards it.
You know it's not visible when you're in the dining hall inside, but you know where it is visible? Walking towards it,
Yeah.
which you're
Every
doing
day.
every day.
Every day.
It's getting bigger and closer to you every day.
I think he secretly loves
He
it.
loved it.
But he didn't want to
loved
say
it. He
he
didn't want to
loved
tell you. He
it.
loved it.
He loved
it. Oh,
it.
marzipan. I love it.
I love it. Ooh.
Oh, you're so high and tall. I love you.
I love you.
I love you, Eiffel Tower.
Also-
you're making me
They make an
erect.
amazing French onion soup in the restaurant. He just couldn't walk away.
Yeah.
Yuck.
Oh. People showed us photos for some reason.
French
After
onion
it
soup.
came up, Maybe in the Betty White episode. Not the Betty White. Betty Crocker. Not Betty Crocker.
Julia Child.
Julia Child. Oh my
Betty
goodness.
Crocker and me.
Well, no, firstly they were confused that they thought it doesn't exist here. And we said, no, it does. It's just gross.
Oh, those photos.
They're like, what do you mean? All this
Even think the memory
Onion.
of that photo. This
The
that
melted
cheese.
cheese on
just the
top.
cheese, yeah.
no good.
Anyway, I love culture.
I love culture.
I love culture.
I've tried French onion
I've
soup.
tried your culture.
I didn't like your culture.
Your culture made me vom.
Not for me, thanks. Your culture, that is.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Do we
but
have
not-
any
no
listeners
from
in
me.
France?
Yeah.
Do we?
Well, yeah, we've met.
Yeah, that's right. We've met
a listener a few times. He came to
twice
shows
in London.
Yeah.
Oh my god, of course. Yeah. I think it's Joseph.
Yes, I think that's it.
Yes.
And he's
what a
giving
man.
me treats every time.
Yeah, I remember last time I was like, this is just for you, Jess. Something
Yeah,
like
he
that.
just gives me treats,
And just,
which I welcome.
I love hearing him talk.
Yeah, beautiful
Oh yeah,
voice.
big fan of that. But if you want to give me treats, please come to our Melbourne International Comedy Festival show.
We love
Give me
treats.
treat.
I love
We got Mick in
treats.
Brisbane who always leaves me Skittles.
Oh, he's one of my favourite people.
Oh wow, huge call.
Such a good guy.
I love treats.
I'm not sure if I mentioned it again, but I think that there's 2 restaurants these days at the Eiffel Tower. I don't know when you went.
I didn't know. How did I not realise that?
One of them, I think one's the Jules Verne restaurant, named after the famous writer.
Yeah.
So 30,000 people in the first few weeks climbed to the top. But all up over the World's Fair, which goes for many, many months, it received 2 million visitors.
Whoa.
And Gustav got a large percentage of all those ticket sales.
Yeah.
So his investment really paid off.
He's a genius.
Famous visitors to the tower during the World's Fair included the Prince of Wales at the time.
Charles.
Yeah.
I was going to say.
Tom, Thomas Edison, who was exhibiting his inventions.
Wow.
He was there.
That's cool.
We did an episode about him way back.
God, I don't
And
remember that.
another episode where we mentioned this exact incident was Buffalo Bill Cody, who was attending the exhibition as mentioned in our Annie Oakley episode. Do you remember she performed in
right.
Buffalo Bill's circus?
I love
right.
how we're building a shared universe.
We totally are. Gustav Eiffel had a small apartment built for himself near the top of the tower.
Near the top of the tower.
Yeah, right near the top.
I cannot. So there's in my head it's all like basically outdoors, but it's sort of in my head it's just all metal.
But he's in built an enclosed area.
Is that still there?
Yeah, which is still there.
Yeah, right.
He welcomed many of these famous visitors up to his private apartment. So he'd lived there on and off, including Thomas Edison himself, who gifted Gustav with the newly invented phonograph, which would later on to go on to be the gramophone or record player,
Whoa.
which
That's
was
cool.
he was exhibiting at the World's Fair. The apartment itself was kept a secret at first, but once word got out that Eiffel had the highest apartment in Paris, the rich and famous got very jealous, and he received many offers to rent it out, even for one night. But he coolly declined them all.
Oh my God. I can't even picture that.
He doesn't need their cash.
Yeah. And so it's still there now, and there's like models of him inside it.
How big is the apartment?
Very small. It's only a couple of rooms.
Yeah, right.
And there's like, you can see...
It looks like a caravan, like the toilet's next to the oven.
Yeah, well, I was trying to look at the photos. Does it have a toilet? I don't know.
Oh,
You
okay.
just fling it out the window.
That's what I do. And I have a toilet. Sorry to brag. There's a toilet in my house.
I think I think there are things that I misunderstood about the story. I'm sure I heard that people hated it after it went up, and they wanted to it was a plan for it to come down or something.
Or was it always supposed to be there forever?
Well, the next thing I was going to say is it's crazy to think now, but at the time it was meant to be only temporary.
How long?
It was planned to stand for 20 years and then get scrapped. And they went with 20 years because of Gustav's investment. And they said, okay, we'll give you 20 years to recoup the cost that you've invested in it. But after that, we're going to bring it down.
Right.
Surely he made his money in like that first.
Oh, very, very quickly. Yeah.
So
'cause
after that, it's just extra.
2 million people came straight away. And then it's
That's
popular.
crazy.
And sure, its popularity helped them want to keep it. But one of the main reasons it wasn't demolished in 1909 as scheduled was the fact that the tower had become a fantastic radio transmitter.
Right. Yes, that's what I heard.
Because it was so high. It was the tallest thing in the whole city.
And it looks like an aerial, basically.
Yeah, it is a very beautiful aerial.
Yeah. That's amazing.
And I bet they're glad they stuck with it because in 1914, at the outbreak of World War I, a radio transmitter located in the tower jammed German radio communications, seriously hindering their advance on Paris at the time and contributed to the Allied victory at the First Battle of the Marne,
Whoa.
which kept the Germans out of Paris.
Right.
Wow.
This did result in 4 years of stalemate and trench warfare, sure, but they kept them out of Paris. And one of the main reasons was because they had the best radio transmitter.
Right. That's cool.
That's crazy.
I want to tell you another story now about the Eiffel Tower. A couple of years earlier, in 1912, there was a man who, in hindsight, probably had wished that the Eiffel Tower had been scrapped. That man was Franz Reichelt, a.k.a. the Flying Tailor.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what?
The Flying Tailor.
Okay.
So
No, now I get it. I don't need any further clarification.
he's a clothes tailor,
Yeah,
but he
clothes
does it like sort of flying around you. So he's sort of like a couple of feet off the
Oh.
ground.
He hovers.
Like in Disney movies when like birds help you get
Yes.
dressed.
Or the
like
yeah.
carrying scarves in
Yes.
between their beaks.
Yeah.
was he a bird?
Was he a
he a little
bird?
colourful bird?
Sorry, a.k.a. the Bird.
Aw, little bird.
Just want to shout out to Odie Matthews, who suggested we do a full report on this guy, but I've condensed a mini report here on Franz Reichelt, the Flying Tailor, who was born in Austria in 1878. He became a French national in 1909 and was keen to make his mark on the world. He opened a dressmaking shop at first, working as a tailor, but he wanted to invent something new. This was the beginning of the age of aviation, like I mentioned, hot air balloons before, small planes had started taking off. Franz Reichelt saw a gap in the market for a parachute suit.
Oh, yeah.
Love this.
MC Hammer was the first big customer.
Oh, Dave really enjoyed that.
I
Well
did
done.
imagining them.
Good job. Hey, Matt. Good job on that
Well done,
joke.
mate. You were funny. No, that really tickled me. So the idea was a suit not much bigger than a regular suit, but one that in an emergency could double as a parachute. That's the basic idea. Parachute suit.
DB Cooper would have enjoyed that.
He would have loved that. He probably could have used that.
There's a DB Cooper reference on episode of 30 Rock I was watching the other day,
Really?
and I was like, wow, that's niche.
I get that.
I get it.
that.
I understand it now.
It should be noted that functional canopy parachutes already existed, but no parachute existed for people leaping from planes or from a low altitude. And none existed that also doubled as sweet suits.
Interesting,
Okay.
yeah. So he's really ahead of the curve.
Cornering the market here.
Yeah.
The Flying Tailor. You get it. In 1911, Colonel Lalance, I love that name, Colonel Lalance.
La 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 Lance.
Lance.
Colonel.
From the Aero Club de France, offered a prize of 10,000 francs to anyone that could create a safety parachute for aviators that did not exceed 25 kilograms in weight. Reichelt had the inspiration he'd been waiting for, started to work on his design properly. There was no mention of it also doubling as a suit, but that was just a sweet bonus.
I'm picturing like an 80s power suit, big high shoulder pads, pinstripes, pocket kerchief.
Nothing makes me feel more powerful knowing that at any time you could just bail out of this plane and be fine.
Yeah.
I don't need this plane.
Oh, yeah. I could fly. I could just fly myself from here. You can, if you're gonna keep flying, I'll just stay in. But if you reckon this is going down, I'll just take it from here.
All right.
All right.
Imagine looking around the plane these days and everyone's wearing a parachute suit, just in case.
Never know.
Just in case. So he created a few prototypes, but at 70 kilos, nearly 3 times what he wanted, these were way too big and heavy. He presented this early design to the leading aeronautic organisation in France, hoping that they would want to test it. But they rejected his designs on the grounds that the construction of the canopy was too weak, and they attempted to dissuade him from spending further time on development. They basically told him to give up now. But he wouldn't give up.
Of course not.
Instead, he had his own little tests. First using the chute on dummies dropped from the 5th floor of his apartment building. These failed, so he decided to have a go himself.
Wait, what?
He thought the dummy was the problem.
Oh.
He was in fact wrong. He broke his leg,
Oh.
but he remained undeterred.
Oh my God. He should be deterred.
His theory was that it actually wasn't high enough to test the chute properly. That's the problem. I'm
That
only
makes some
5
sense.
floors up.
Yep.
Do you know what? It's okay to be deterred.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Sometimes you should be deterred.
Sometimes.
Feels
Take
like-
a hint sometimes.
Unless this is going to turn into a huge success.
Yeah. I don't feel like it is,
It's
though.
the Flying Tailor. How bad could this go?
Well,
it
you did
feels
say
like
at the
it's gonna be
start.
bad.
You said at the start, one guy wished the Eiffel Tower didn't exist.
Which means he's going to jump off it.
Well, he needed a tall structure
Oh my
to test
God.
his experiments.
No.
His apartment's not tall enough. He started lobbying to get permission to be able to conduct some tests from the Eiffel Tower. He was flat out denied for over a year. But I imagine he was so persistent, they finally gave him permission after 1 year to run a test on February 4th, 1912. He told them he was going to test his parachute on dummies. He was lying. He planned to jump himself.
What the fuck is he thinking?
Is this a parachute suit?
He's wearing when he arrived at the tower at 7 a.m., he made the announcement whilst wearing the parachute
So
suit.
he's strutting in. They're like, oh, where's your suit? Where's the dummies?
He's like,
Don't need either,
there
baby.
is no dummy.
I'm the dummy.
Many friends and onlookers tried to dissuade him from such an attempt.
This is such a bad idea.
He would not listen.
Oh my God.
They said, hey, how about you use a dummy first, and then next time, when this works, do it yourself.
A great idea.
Great suggestions, I think.
Wonderful suggestion from caring friends and family and onlookers.
Prove that it works once, and then you can do it.
Sure.
He said no. When questioned as to whether he would plan to take any further precautions, such as using a safety rope, for example, he replied that he would not, since he intended to trust his life entirely to his parachute.
Oh my God. Does he have like a wife and kids?
Not that I came across.
Well, that's all right then.
Not anymore.
Yeah, they're long since deceased.
He already used them as first
Dummies.
trials.
When I say dummies, I meant children. This is him. Quote, I want to try the experiment myself and without trickery, as I intend to prove the worth of my invention.
Oh no.
He's putting his money where his mouth is.
Well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He went up the tower with 2 friends and a cameraman, with another filming below. As he climbed the stairs, he paused, turned back to the crowd, raised his hand and wished them a cheery, in French, see you soon. He was right. He would see the crowd soon.
Oh my God.
He stood up on the guardrail, threw a piece of paper to check the wind.
Oh my God.
He's got safety precautions, guys. And then jumped from just 57 metres, or 187 feet above the ground. So he went from the first level, didn't even go to the top of the tower. The parachute folded around him, and he
No.
plummeted onto the frozen ground below.
No.
He died instantly and made news around the country.
Oh.
You can see the video of his jump online.
There's a video of it?
Yeah.
had a cameraman.
So the cameraman at the top and at the bottom. So there's 2 angles.
That's right.
He may as well, watching it back, he may as well have jumped holding a bed sheet. It would have done more. It just folds around him. So he's just suddenly got a cloak around him and he just plummets to the ground.
Oh.
That's horrendous. And people are standing there watching him and just see him hit
Yep.
the ground.
Sadly, he was taken to hospital, but he had died straight away.
Oh my
That's the
God.
plus side, I guess.
Yeah.
I've wanted to talk about this guy for a while. As he's the poster boy. There was a photo of him on my second favorite Wikipedia page, which is list of inventors killed by their own inventions. Second only to, which I hope I've mentioned before, list of popes who've died violently.
Well, I think that's sort of false because this guy didn't invent icy ground.
Technically, it was the ground that killed him.
Yeah.
That's wild and terrible.
Isn't that a crazy story? But
Yes.
from then on, a lot of people asked to conduct experiments, including Gustave Eiffel. Next to his apartment, he had another room for experiments, and he would later in life he did a lot more designing. After his reputation's huge, a lot more engineering, but he also did a lot of weather experiments from the top of the tower.
Right.
But from this point on, from 1912 on, it became a lot harder because people would apply and they'd say, no, the last guy jumped and died, so no more experiments.
Whoa.
He ruined it for everyone else.
Yeah. It was a bit of
Yeah.
a bummer, to be honest.
He sounds like that kind of person.
Oh, well. But I'd like to finish now with something we haven't had for a while, which is a lot of fun facts.
Yay!
And with something that's been around for over 130 years, I've got a lot.
Great.
Well, I will be the judge
Let
of
me
their
know.
fun level.
If you had to guess, Bob, before this report when it was built, would you have had what would your guess have
I
been?
wouldn't have had a clue.
I wouldn't have had a
honestly.
clue either. I would have. Yeah, it makes sense now that I know, but I almost would have thought 1700s, which
Maybe.
is probably a
I would have said
crazy
18.
idea, right? When was it built? Late 1800s.
1889 is when it was unveiled, so 100
It
years
just
after
feels
the
like it's
revolution.
been around forever. And I guess in my life that is true.
It's funny because because we've grown up with like TVs and then the internet and stuff like that. You see pictures of these things long before you see them, in our cases, living on the other side of the world. So then when I was going over to Paris, I was sort of like, well, I mean, I've seen pictures. And then we were wandering around the Louvre on our first day in Paris, and just out a window, I saw the top of it, and I was like, and I loved
It's so
it.
surreal. I think having seen it so much beforehand makes it even more surreal, right?
Yeah.
And the crazy part is you can see it from nearly everywhere in Paris.
It's
Like,
amazing.
there's lots of places that you're like, there it is.
And it's all lit up at night. It's beautiful.
I could see from my hotel room lit up at night. It was beautiful.
I loved it.
So cool.
And same with Big Ben too. Sorry, I mean, let's not get. Don't people get really pedantic about calling it Big Ben? It's
Yeah,
That's the-
technically it's
the
Elizabeth Tower.
yeah, right, okay.
But everyone, I think people have gone beyond that now, right?
Hope so. Because I remember walking.
Actually,
Actually, I think you'll find.
Actually, I think you'll find I'm a very boring person.
Because I remember getting off the tube and walking out and just sort of being on the street and looking up and being like, "Oh my god!" Like I loved it. I loved the Eiffel Tower.
This is stories from your childhood that your family often repeat. Mine one is seeing it as an 11-year-old. My reaction was, it's not that big. My parents laughed because they spent my mum's uncle's inheritance to fly my sister and I halfway around the world to see this amazing thing, and I was an 11-year-old going, not that big. Apparently, I had the same reaction a few years earlier when I saw the Grand Canyon.
Oh my god!
What a little dick.
how many relatives died for you to have this lifestyle?
I think, honestly, there was 2 inheritances spent on those trips.
Yeah, that's how we got to America too.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Damn my family's longevity.
I know, they're so healthy.
That's why I never got to travel. I didn't get on a plane till I was 17, I think.
Yeah, right.
And that was to go to the. We drove to the
Was
Gold
that
Coast,
the-
and
with
it was
the-
to fly home.
That was with the
nice.
Wright brothers, though, wasn't it?
That was. with the
He's
right
on!
time. I was actually their first test dummy. Broke my leg.
All right, Dave, fun facts. Let's do this.
All right, fun facts. Did you know that for 4 decades, as I said, the Eiffel Tower was the world's tallest structure? So it was the tallest building or structure for
40 years.
40 years after it was built.
It would these days the records would be held for 6 months and a year. And
Yeah,
Yeah.
taken over. It was eclipsed by the Chrysler Building in New York City in 1930,
top of the Chrysler Building,
which has only held the record for a few months, which we talked about. And I decided to do this episode because one of my favorite Patreon bonus episodes I've done a report on is the Empire State Building and the battle to be the world's tallest between
yeah.
that and the Chrysler Building.
Ah.
And I remember having fun on that episode, so I was like, what's another famous thing I could talk about?
I don't know if I could tell the difference between those two.
No.
I've been at the top of the what was not the Chrysler one, the other
The
one.
Empire State?
Empire
I'm sure
State.
you would know the difference. So the Chrysler Building's the famous Art Deco one with that spire thing at the top.
Right. Yeah.
And the Eiffel Tower and the Empire State Building, you'd definitely recognise it, yeah.
Yeah. But I just don't know if I saw them both, would I be able to pick which one was which? I'm not sure if I would.
I'm not sure.
Actually, the one I went to the top of was a different one again. It was the Rockefeller Building.
Right, sure. Yeah, I think they're the 2 competing ones with the views over there. I haven't actually been to New York City. I'm waiting for my great uncle to die, but
Which one is this one?
That's the Empire State.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Because
It's
that's
one
the
for
one
one.
that
No.
King Kong climbed.
yeah, that's right. That's how you remember. One's
Yeah.
King Kong, the other one's the fantastic Art Deco spire.
And the Chrysler Building is some character in the Annie orphan musical says something about the top of the Chrysler Building. So if I hear Chrysler Building, that line runs through my head. I can't remember the context. Top of the Chrysler Building.
But for 40 years, that's a pretty good stint.
That's
Oh,
amazing.
huge.
The fact that people were disparaging about it's like, all right, we just built the world's biggest thing.
Yeah.
Can't you be happy with that? It was also the world's largest billboard for a time. I had no idea about this, but between 1925 and 1936, 250,000 coloured light bulbs were attached to 3 sides of the tower's steeple, illuminated to spell out in 100-foot vertical letters, Citroën, the French car company.
Yeah, right.
So it just said Citroën on 3 sides for over a decade.
That's wild.
I had no idea about that. And there's
That would have been pretty early days of Citroën as well, wouldn't it have been?
Well, yeah, the car company in 1925 must have been pretty early. And you can see images online. I'll try and post photos of this stuff as well. But yeah, it's amazing. You see it and you go, it looks fake almost.
Yeah,
the fact that it's got these
weird.
letters on it. Over the years, the colour of the tower has changed. When it opened in 1889, the Eiffel Tower sported a reddish-brown colour.
Interesting.
A decade later, it was coated in yellow paint.
Oh, don't like that.
The tower was also yellow-brown and chestnut-brown before the adoption of the current specially mixed Eiffel Tower brown.
Oh, it's brown. In my head, it's sort of charcoal.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
It's brown.
Every 7 years, painters apply 60 tons of paint to help her look young. It's painted in 3 shades
It's
too.
fucking patriarchy, man. I'll tell you what. Oh, we got to paint this broad, make her look young, eh? Let's put 60 tons of paint on her. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, come on. Age gracefully, mate.
Yeah, it's all right. They're basically like Botoxing it.
Yeah.
Oh, did I mention the Botox? It's painted in 3 shades, progressively lighter with elevation as it gets taller, in order to augment the structure's silhouette against the Parisian sky.
Ah.
Quoting from history.com there. It's a fantastic phrase.
Smart,
interesting.
Smart idea.
I don't
if
fully
that
get
makes
it.
sense.
I don't get it at all, but okay, cool.
I think it's just to make it stand out a bit better, so it looks better. It's just lighter at the top.
Interesting.
Yeah. Paris was, of course, occupied by the Nazis in 1940. And to really stick it up them, the French, who famously have the French resistance, before they occupied, cut the lift cables of the tower so the Nazis had to walk up it. If they wanted to get to the top, no more lift. So they did so, and they raised the Nazi flag on top only for it to be blown away in the wind. It was a giant flag, so they had to replace it with a smaller one.
Cop that, Nazis, you dickheads.
Yeah, cop it. When the Allies were nearing Paris in August 1944 and the Germans knew that they were going to have to give it back, Hitler ordered the military governor of Paris to demolish the tower along with the rest of the city.
That's a dog act. I'm sorry, but that's a dog act.
That's a dog act.
Jess, is that a dog
What is
act?
wrong with that guy?
He's a real piece of work.
Oh my God.
Don't get me started.
Isn't that that says it all, doesn't it?
Yeah.
He just seems like, what a fucking bitch.
Hitler's a bitch.
He's a bitch.
There, we said it.
So I'm sorry, but
That's bravery.
honestly,
He's a fucking bitch.
he's a bitch.
Fortunately, the governor disobeyed the order, knowing that Hitler had completely lost his marbles and was also a big bitch. That's a quote.
Who disobeyed the orders?
The military governor of Paris.
Who was a German or a Frenchman?
He was a Nazi guy, yeah. But
Yeah,
he was
right.
like, I'm not going to knock this down, you idiot.
You've lost your mind.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Hitler, you're starting to say some pretty crazy things.
Some other things I get.
I was willing to work with you through some pretty dicey stuff. But knocking down a tower, I don't think so.
Yeah.
You're crazy.
I'm out, bitch.
This isn't what I got into the Nazi stuff for. I wanted to build up, not knock down. I know we lost our way there somewhere and became to be honest, pretty evil.
Has anybody mentioned that to you? Because I feel like not enough people around you are being honest with you, Hitler. You're sounding pretty evil. You're a bit of an evil bitch.
You're an evil bitch.
There, I said it. I know I'll probably be shot against the wall for it, but I said it.
You're a bitch.
Other people have jumped off the building. A young woman survived when she jumped, was caught in a gust of wind and blown onto the roof of a car, which broke her fall.
Oh my God.
She later married the car's owner.
No.
The car was a Citroen.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
What a meet
What?
cute, you know?
Where? That is a great story to tell.
You know, some people now are like, oh, it's like I got onto Tinder, first swipe, love. You know, some people meet at work. Some people meet at a bar.
Some people meet their love when they fall out of the sky.
Yeah, and crash into their
To be
car.
honest, ruined my car.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, that car's not...
You owe me a date.
Oh,
Oh, that's how it started.
well, that's creepy.
Yeah. Well, it was a different time.
Ugh.
Now, when I say date, I mean my car. That's what I call my car. You owe me a car.
Beep, beep. There's
Is that a fun fact? Yeah.
I'm
that's-
happy that she survived.
That's fun, right?
But it's so she jumped off on purpose.
I mean, how do you jump?
Yes, yeah,
You
yeah.
can't
Jump
just
off,
fall
yeah.
off.
Sadly, a few people have jumped off.
So, but it's
And not survived
to
with these,
get caught in a gust of wind, so it lifted her.
Yeah.
Was she wearing a parachute suit?
It's funny that a man was wearing a dress was more effective than something designed to be a parachute suit.
I was just wearing a jacket, and it sort of just caught some of the wind, and I survived.
I was naked and I survived, so you're an idiot.
My scrotum caught the breeze.
You better get that looked at, mate.
That is amazing.
It's a slap in the face of the parachute suit.
A turkey slap in the face.
Thank you.
That's the wildest thing in this whole story, surely. How high from, do you know how?
I actually don't know what level she was on.
But he died instantly from the lowest
The
point
lower
he could
level,
jump.
yeah.
So she was at least the same level as
yeah,
that.
at least 50 plus meters.
Oh my God. The luck of that. And then, because obviously, you know, Jeez, and her whole life turned around. I hope.
Yeah.
There's very little I know about it. That is one of the wildest things I've ever heard.
That's insane.
I'm sure some listeners are hoping I'll report on how the tower was sold by conman Vista Lustig, but I want to dedicate a full report, or at least a Patreon, to him one day. So there's a few people that have requested that when I searched Eiffel Tower. Just know that report is coming one day.
Oh,
but
cool.
it's a pretty cool story. But I
That's
didn't want to
great
burn
sizzle.
it here.
Yeah, great. Okay.
Because it's already quite a long story on its own. But in 1967, Charles de Gaulle, the then president of France, proposed temporarily dismantling the tower and sending it to Montreal for Expo 67. Thankfully, that
Whoa.
plan was rejected.
That seems like a bad idea.
That's it's your biggest tourist attraction.
Seems like
Let's give it to another city for a bit.
it's real strange. Why would you choose to do that? Well, I
Yeah.
guess they didn't.
The lady who fell is not the only one who found love at the tower. In 2007, Erica Eiffel married the tower, which I'm sure you've heard people talk
Yeah.
about. Someone married the Eiffel Tower. She changed her name to Erica Eiffel. She first encountered it in 2004 and felt an immediate attraction.
Surely Erica Tower. If you're going to take his...
Yeah.
And you all... Yeah. Well, I don't know.
She's an
Is
American...
it just because it's a bit phallic?
Well, no, she's been in love with many things over the years. She's an American competitive archer. She's like a world-class archer, or has been in the 2000s, and an advocate for object sexuality. She'd previously been in a 20-year relationship with the Berlin Wall.
And what happened?
Well, people grow apart.
It all came tumbling down.
That's good stuff.
You are fucking killing it
That is
today,
good stuff.
honestly.
According to an article from Vice, which I'll link to with all the other references in the episode, in addition to holding a commitment ceremony with her 186-year-old French Iron Tower at the time,
But it's not about, age is just a number.
Yeah.
she's fallen for fighter jets and is currently fencing. I imagine that means like a fence. And she's currently in a relationship with a crane.
Oh,
There you go.
Dr. Fraser Crane?
She told Vice in this article, quote, "I understand that people are going to get visuals in their head and they're going to have questions about sex. When you see a building and a person, you have questions. Like when you see a very tall person and a very short person together, you wonder how the mechanics work.
Not the same thing.
But you wouldn't...
I never think that.
I do.
Do you see
Like-
couples and you picture them fucking?
Of course. If they're he's got to be like 7 foot tall and she is about 3 foot tall. And then I'm
Okay.
like, wowzers.
I mean,
Yeah, right.
it's got to be a big difference.
or other way around.
But to finish her quote here, but you wouldn't go up to those people and ask, how do you do it when you're so tall and she's so short? The fact that people ask us those questions just shows how little they respect us. She's talking about herself in the building.
No, I think people respect the Eiffel Tower.
I'm so conflicted here because I don't want to shame anyone.
No, don't yuck the yum. Or
Yeah.
whatever yeah.
That's what you want to do. That's cool.
I don't think are we shaming?
No, not shaming her, but it's just funny to compare the tall and short thing to her
Totally.
in a tower.
That's
the funny
funny.
part. For
But
me.
it is also a wild idea to me.
Yeah.
And I am probably shaming her a little bit.
Yeah, no, me too. But I don't want to.
No, but it's fascinating.
But also, can she not just talk? Imagine her just trying to have a conversation with a person. It must be so hard.
But also, like, how do you think how can you be in a relationship with something that can't talk to you?
And can't consent to that relationship.
And also, but it's like it's
Oh, God, it's only a one-way street.
Yeah.
it's such a publicly owned thing. Like, how do you get to go? I want
Yeah,
this
that's mine
worldwide
now.
famous thing.
Also, it's way older than she is.
You're
Like,
actually visiting my boyfriend right now, or my girlfriend.
Yeah. Do you mind not taking pictures of my boyfriend?
Yeah, would you mind if someone else married it? Like, am I free to marry it too?
I guess because you did gender it. You gave the Eiffel Tower. You called it a woman
She.
before.
People do refer to it as a she.
Like a ship.
I
They're
wonder-
all chicks.
I wonder if she sees objects as having a gender. and
Yeah,
stuff
good
like-
point.
Why? Because why would they? It's weird that we do that.
Yeah, that's true.
She needs a coat of paint. Anyway, you've taken us to an interesting place.
Yeah, I
Dave.
think
feel good
it
for
is
you.
fascinating. 2 more fun facts here if you think they're still fun. During the cold, the tower shrinks around 6 inches. Huh? Don't we all?
No.
In height. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Yeah, when you get real cold, you really, really shrink.
6 inches. I guess that's quite a small
So what was that? Yeah, and apparently it also sways in the wind, but it's designed
Or it
to do
shrinks
so.
to 6 inches.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Whoa, how cold?
You wouldn't want to be standing above it when it gets hot. Oh. Unless you were married to it, I guess. Then maybe that's...
Maybe
that
you
would be
get
you
there on a very cold day and you pour hot water on
Yeah.
it. Woo! Only on your anniversary.
You died literally doing what you love.
Since opening, over 250 million people have visited the Eiffel Tower.
Whoa.
Today, it is the most paid monument in the world, as we started with 6.91. Nearly 7 million people ascended it in 2015.
Is that true? I wonder how many people like me stood near it.
Must be millions more, because I also didn't go up when I saw it. I admired from afar.
Oh, I did.
Actually, no, I went very close. I went underneath. I walked underneath and everything.
Yeah, I went all around, in and around it, but not up it. What was it like? Was the view worth it?
I went to the first level.
Where the flying Tailor was?
Yeah.
Did you know that at the time?
I did not know. I had a ticket to go all the way to the top, and then I got to that level, and I was like, "This is high enough."
Yeah, right. So you feel out amongst the elements, sort of.
Oh yeah, and you like the view's incredible, and it was awesome, but it was scary.
Right.
And now reading this, I want to go back and I want to go up it. I'm going to make sure.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. When we go over there, I'll come up it as well.
We'll do a prison.
If we ever get back to the UK and Ireland, maybe we should do. That's so close.
So close.
So close. We should.
I'd love to.
Get over to Paris, visit Joseph.
Get some treats.
They're the final fun facts, but I just want to end. Finally, the namesake of the tower, Gustav Eiffel, died in 1923, so he did see it become a massive success.
Great.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because he lived to be 91.
Wow.
That means his life overlapped with two of my grandparents. That's cool.
Wow, then alive at the same time. He died whilst listening to Beethoven's Fifth Symphony.
Oh, that's
Remember when there was on the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack, which is one of the top 5 selling albums of all time. There's like a disco version of that.
And that was the version he was listening to. Can you believe it?
crazy.
He died from a Saturday Night Fever. Did I mention that?
There's no cure for that.
The other co-designer, Emile Nougier, died much earlier in 1897 at 57 years old.
The year the VFL commenced.
But thank God he saw that. But Maurice Koechlin, who drew the first design ever, the image that I'll post, outlived Gustav, and he died in 1946 at the age of 89.
Wow.
In Switzerland, in a house that he'd built by himself.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, 1900. So he lived old enough to see the tower taken over by the Nazis and then reclaimed by the French.
Whoa.
Which is just in time.
Yeah, wow.
So they got it back in late 44. But that is the end of my report on the Eiffel Tower.
Great report.
Thank you very much, and thanks to Tom from England for suggesting it, because Dave said it.
And also Odie
Matthews for mentioning the flying Tailor.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
a little. You were tempted to do 3 reports in one. I could see it.
Yeah, because if I do that, Victor Lustig, the con man, that's going to be a cool story.
You reckon that could be its own story?
Yeah,
or at
least a mini Patreon bonus.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
awesome.
awesome. Well, I look forward to hearing that. Don't forget to do it. You can't sizzle like that and not come through.
You can't.
Dave, you can't.
All right, I'll do it.
Can we bleep that? Well, this is the time for everyone's favourite section of the show. It is the fact, quote, or question section of the show. Jess, I think what does the jingle go like?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, damn it. I think it's something like, in Jess's voice, fact, quote, or question.
Ding.
And then Dave says ding.
Fantastic, but that was a little bit early, too.
Why do they always forget the ding? So this week, it is a great man named Tiernan Ennis. And the way you get involved in the fact, quote, or question, I should say, is by supporting us at patreon.com. In particular, on the Sydney Scheinberg Deluxe Memorial Package level. And on that level, you get to give us a fact, a quote, or a question, as well as voting in 2 of every 3 topics. And
can I just say, this level is the one that voted for my topic today. And the difference between first and second was yet again 1 vote.
Whoa.
1 vote. So,
because it's a much smaller Patreon level.
It's a smaller pool because it is the VIP section, shall we say. So if you want to dictate how the show goes, either some people didn't vote or join and you can change the show, basically.
Yeah.
And as well as that, you also get the 2 bonus episodes per month and we recorded a really fun one earlier tonight, which is probably already gone out, which was it was all about the country of Spain. And it was basically a pilot episode for a new show that I might be starting because I don't have enough of them. And anyway, so Tiernan Ennis, who's given himself the title, because that's something else you have to do on this level, he's given himself the title of That Irish Gobshite, which is a term we talked about a bit when we were in Ireland. I think our taxi driver taught us that.
Yeah, that's right.
That man taught us a lot.
And Tiernan,
Not as much as our first taxi driver who took us to where his wife was born.
Yes, that was very...
Is that normal Dublin sort of hospitality, I wonder?
Especially after getting off a 22-hour flight and we were on the way to the hotel, but he still had time to take us on the way to where his wife was
It
born.
was an exciting journey.
So Tiernan has asked the question, have you ever had a friend or family member taken back, in case we didn't get that, he's put in brackets, surprised, when you tell them how popular this podcast is, with live shows across Australia, 2 UK tours, and Thailand and Ireland?
Okay, well, I don't think I've talked about this on the show yet. Sadly, my grandfather passed away about 2 months ago now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all
Good things must come to an end. Yes, he lived a very long, full life, very accomplished dental specialist, and it was amazing at the funeral, them reading out all his achievements as a dentist. It was honestly part of like 30 different boards, all this kind of stuff.
Wow.
So that was just professionally inspiring. But then afterwards, we went and had the wake at a local place near the funeral parlour, and we're all dressed in suits or whatever. And as I'm ordering a beer, a lady asked me, "Oh, do you host the Dougal Horn podcast?" I said, "Yeah." She's like, "I recognise your voice." And my uncle was standing next to me, who doesn't know too much about the show, and he just thought it was the funniest thing that I could do a podcast, that he doesn't fully understand what that is.
Was he taken aback?
He was taken aback, and he
Bracket surprised.
couldn't wait to get back to the table to tell everyone else that I'd just been recognised at Grandpa's wake.
That's amazing.
So yeah, and didn't you pose for a photo with her?
Yeah, I'm so sorry, I've forgotten your name. You're very, very lovely.
Did
nice
she
to meet
know you were at a wake?
I don't think so. She just worked there and we were just there in suits, so maybe she
Was
just
your
thinks I...
grandfather's wake?
And I'm in like
And
formal
you're
wear.
posing for photos.
You're posing for photos
My-
at a wake.
Fans, you fuck.
My uncle was absolutely pissed. He was
That's what
dying.
Grandpapa would have wanted.
Exactly. My uncle thought it was so funny.
So
So yeah, he was taken aback by that because I was taken aback, to be honest. I didn't expect it. The last place you expect.
Yeah.
And we don't get recognised that often.
God,
so.
no.
No, I can't. I don't remember anyone being. I'm not sure. I'm sure there'd be a lot of people who'd be confused by it if they thought about it at all.
It's not the most conventional job. So when people are kind of like, "So you're still doing that little thing on the that podcast?" Yeah. Yeah, I am. We just did a tour of the UK, and like, I get that from extended family a lot.
Yeah, right.
They're very confused by what I do.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because I mean, you work very hard, Jess.
Thank you.
On
And I've
your
got so little to show
hobby.
for it.
I don't know. I can't remember any specific examples. So I'm so grateful that you had that great story, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, I probably would never would have mentioned it otherwise, but it's just
That was-
because you feel like a wanker talking about being recognised, but because it so rarely happens. But it was just so funny and fits that so well. My uncle just laughing along. He took the photo as well. He was laughing while I was taking. That's right. He was laughing while I was taking the photo.
That's the best.
I think I told you about this when I was in Adelaide Fringe a couple of years ago. I was in the bar of my venue, and someone recognised me from the podcast. They said, "You're not Matt from Do Go On, are you?" I said, "I am." And they're like, "What are you doing in town?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm doing my show here at the Fringe Festival." She's like, "Really?" She's like, "Oh, you should mention that on the show." I'm like, "I think I have every week for the last probably 2 months, but I think she skips the intros." So.
That's amazing. That wasn't the year that we had just done a show, was it? Because
No,
that
it
would
was
have
the
been
year
even
before
better.
that, yeah.
She missed out on seeing us. That would be so fun.
That'd be
She
so
was
good.
she was taken aback. No, I don't recall anyone really being taken aback.
Was everyone in your family as chilled as you?
On some level, I'd say.
Yeah. You'd be like, huh, cool. Anyway, want a sausage?
Well, a few of my folks came to a show, I think,
Yeah.
and my sister's coming to one before.
My dad's my biggest supporter in everything I do. And he's currently on a tour of Egypt. and he rings me the other day. And
Did someone leave him some money?
Yeah, that's right. He's on a tour of Egypt and he calls me up the other day and says, I've got you a new listener over here. I was talking to a young guy on the trip about your age, and he says he's into history. I said, you should check out my son's podcast. And then he goes, he's here now. I'll put him on. And then I was talking to the guy. He's like, yeah, cool. Listen to your show. It's pretty fun. Gave me a couple of suggestions for episode topics.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so we'll look out for a new download in Egypt on the stats.
My dad got talking to the neighbour across the road who said his daughter was doing a podcast, and my dad's like, yeah, my daughter does a podcast as well. And this guy's like, well, everyone does podcasts, so whatever. And they're talking a bit more, and he goes, and the neighbour goes, yeah, I really like the Little Dum Dum Club. And my dad's like, do you now? Because Jess was just over in Thailand with him, and he was like, wait, that podcast? My dad's like, yeah, that's right.
Proud daddies.
Proud dads. My dad, one time I did a show years ago on community TV, and Dad watched it, and afterwards he said, it was interesting.
That's good dad feedback.
He said he liked a bit that was so close to the end of the episode. He said, I liked your interview I think he liked the interview with Damien Cow, the Tism singer. And I'm like, that was like 40 minutes into the show. Did not get it. Anyway.
Love the credits.
Great supporters, our dads. Thank you so much, Tiernan, for your ongoing support. It was very helpful, especially the first time we're over in
Edinburgh.
Yeah.
Let's try to come over.
I don't think we really got to talk to him. I very briefly saw him in the line.
In the line out the front, that's right.
But he had to rush off because our show was on a school night last time. Anyway, thank you so much, Tiernan, you goddamn legend. I'd also love to thank Johannes Owall. What does an umlaut do on a capital O? Or any O? It stretches out, right?
Sorry, Johannes. I'm sorry.
Owall. I'm going to say Johannes Owall. Who's given himself the title of accounting consultant. Jess, you'd be pleased by that?
Very disappointed in that.
And Johannes has given us a quote. He writes, "Hi, gang. One of my favourite movie quotes is from the movie Airplane." I love Airplane, which is called Flying High here, right?
Yeah, that's the same movie. Yep.
Yeah, I wonder why that...
It was called Airplane.
Airplane in America.
Airplane.
Airplane. That's how they say airplane, I think.
Airplane.
I think so.
Yeah, airplane, Hyundai. It's weird.
Oregano. I love how they talk. Please let us into your country.
Come on.
We want to come and hear you say these words silly in front of us.
Say it to our face.
You can say them silly to us, and then we'll say our silly back to you. Oregano. Oregano. That's going to be fun.
Adidas. That's going to be great.
Yeah, what do we say? Adidas.
No.
Edelweiss.
Edelweiss.
So anyway, he says one of his favourite movie quotes is from the movie Airplane. And the quote is, "Surely you can't be serious. I am serious. And don't call me Shirley." It's a great.
That's great.
It's a great quote.
That's a good bit.
It's funny, I know so many quotes in that film. I don't know if I've ever seen it start to finish.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, right. I would have seen it a few times, but not for a long time. So good.
Yeah, so many silly
Leslie
moments.
Nielsen's in it, but he was not the main man, is he? Jeez, it's been a while. Fuck, he's very funny, Leslie.
We should all watch it. Johannes, thank you so much for your support. And yes, I am serious.
Really? A punkin, oh my God. Pun king like you, Dave, should really watch a movie like that. Johannes goes on to say, "Thanks for the laughs and keep up the good work. Best regards, Johannes Owall. P.S. A little pointer since you had some troubles with my name last time."
My God.
Great.
Oh, my God.
This is proving that Matt never pre-reads these.
The first letter is my last name, bracket the O with the dots, is pronounced like a U in the word burn. Johannes Owall.
Oh, that sounds better.
Is that right? Johannes Owall.
Good job.
Thank you, Johannes. Sorry, you might need to give me further tips for next
I
time.
love that he would have been hearing that back before you got to that bit going, oh, he's done it again. He's done the exact same thing.
I
Mate, can you
spelled it out for him.
Read to the end, please. We also like to thank a few other Patreons who've been supporting us for a while. And normally Jess comes up with a bit of a game to do this. Jess, do you have any ideas for tonight?
Structures or buildings that they will marry.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Like our friend Erica.
Oh, well, I wonder if I should, because I have a structure that I'd like to marry. Should I give someone else that.
That luxury?
That honour.
I don't know, Matt. Would you give away your spouse to someone else?
Well, it's hard to know. It's hard to know. Gotta have a spouse to give one away, and I have not yet married. I've not yet met the building that I want to spend the rest
It's
of
the
my
building
life.
of your dreams.
I'm still renting, so to speak.
Oh, that was weird.
Edit all that out. If I could kick it off, I'd love to thank from Airdrie in North Lanarkshire in Great Britain, Scott Duke. The Duke.
Scott Duke.
Scott Duke.
Okay, structures. Think of structures, Jess.
Oh, come on, Jess. Come on. You know, name
Mount Rushmore.
Oh, that is a good one. You get 4 for the price of 1.
Yeah, and Mount's already in the name.
What do you plan to do this Mount? I think you know.
I think you.
That's great, Scott. I hope you're happy with that.
That's great.
It's a bit of a long-distance relationship for you in
Worth it.
Lanarkshire, North Lanarkshire, but I reckon, yeah, you know, for those 4 great guys. Who's on there? You've got
George Washington.
Andrew Dice Clay,
Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln, and
Roosevelt.
a KFC man.
And Thomas Jefferson.
Kentucky Fried Chicken. Is that his name?
Yeah, Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yeah.
It's his name. You legally changed it. Thanks, Scott Duke. Enjoy that. I have a weird fascination with Mount Rushmore. I want to go there very badly.
I'd
Do
love to
you?
hear that as a story. Maybe that's a bonus episode type thing.
I
Yeah.
want to go to Dollywood. So, you know, we've all got different
We've all
goals.
got things.
Where do I want to go?
You just want to go to America.
I
But you want them to let you in. Let us in.
I've been there as a tourist and I had a great time. I'd love to go back.
We'd love to perform our little show there for a few
A
people.
little dog and pony show. Thank you so much, Scott. I'd also love to thank from Brooklyn, New York.
Where
New
we
York
want to go.
City.
Where we want to go.
Love to thank Alex Mark Bayer.
Alex Mark Bayer is married to...
Centrepoint Tower in Sydney.
Oh, what's that? Is that our Space Needle?
Oh, yeah, it is. Oh, it's also called, now it's just called Sydney Tower or something like that. It's
but
also,
it's basically the Seattle Space
yeah, similar
Needle
to that.
looking,
Yeah.
And it has a rotating restaurant.
there's an observation deck.
Have I made that up, the rotating
I don't know
restaurant?
if it's got, maybe. It's got now it has a Westfield logo on it.
Great.
yes.
Which is a shopping centre for you, Alex. Check it out. You get to shop whilst you mount.
So many famous
cool's
buildings
that?
in his city, and you've given him the Needle in Sydney.
May I
Yeah,
please thank...
I'm sorry about that, Scott.
Can I thank some people
please,
too?
can you?
Thank you again to Alex. I would like to thank from Perth, Western
Oh,
Australia,
fantastic.
Isaac Kingy.
Oh, the king.
Oh, the King E.
The King E.
Kingy. Love
Kingy.
that.
All right. I think
Isaac.
I think Isaac is going to have a commitment ceremony with the Southland Shopping Centre in Cheltenham, Melbourne, Victoria.
What a landmark. What a landmark.
Kingy.
It's got because this was my local shopping centre as a kid, and it used to be quite a lot smaller. And they ended up buying property on the other side of the Nepean Highway, and it blew my mind. And it still blows my mind they were allowed to do it. They built a bridge with shops over it. So they bought the air. Somehow they've got the air above Nepean Highway. How do you own that?
That's crazy. You know,
Do you know that place?
I
at
know
all?
what you're talking about now. Actually, yeah. I've never thought about that. How
That's
that is
weird.
It
How
is
do
weird.
how was that allowed to happen? But anyway, great spot where I used to go to see movies as a kid, and yeah, you know, I had a lot of great times there. So
I'm sure Isaac will have some great times there too. You know what I mean?
I might, if you'll have me, Isaac, I'd love to walk Southland down the aisle.
Just for the nostalgia.
Yeah.
So let us know, Isaac. I'd also love to thank from Cheshire, Great Britain. I'd love to thank Aaron Kelly.
Aaron Kelly.
Okay.
All right. What about the Leaning Tower of Pisa?
Oh,
Yes.
jeez, you got lucky, Aaron.
You could do a few poses if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
If you go there, because I've only been there once, but there is constantly people posing as if they're pushing or holding
Of
up
course.
the tower.
Has anyone ever posed like they're humping it?
Oh, you better believe I did.
Yeah.
Did you pose like it was your dick?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
And it was
classic.
leaning.
Classic.
Check out my leaning dick.
Classic.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it. You've lucked out there, Aaron. I think that's probably the most iconic one so far.
Good on you.
Nah, we can top it. All right, here we go.
Okay.
All right.
I would like to thank a couple of peeps now. I'd like to thank from Mystery Location.
Ooh.
We were not trusted with this person's address.
Fair enough. We would have turned up.
Absolutely.
We're very rude.
We always turn up for our big supporter, which is Tess Ornstein.
Tess
Or
Ornstein.
Tess Ornstein, just in case.
Fantastic name, Tess Ornstein.
Lady Liberty herself.
Oh, yes.
She's got the Lady Liberty.
She's got Lady Liberty,
Wow.
baby.
Sweet land of Lady
Laby
You
Liberty.
said labiality.
Well,
Did you,
I mean,
Dave? No, Dave.
is that a
Dave.
pun? Is that a pun?
I don't.
You're
I
the
don't
one who
know.
normally judges those.
Oh, no. Thank you so much to Tess Ornstein. Lady Liberty.
Maybe
You're
that's her
welcome.
mystery address, because you probably don't, if you live there, you can't have an address.
Liberty Island.
Yeah, one Liberty Bell.
2 Liberty Bells.
I would also like to thank now from Otago, New Zealand.
Yes.
Is it just Otago? Sure.
Otago sounds right.
Otago, I think.
I mean, that sounds right, but then it sounds like I'm making it too American sounding.
Oh.
I would like to thank, because I was
Canadian.
I was expecting it to be like an American thing, but it's from New Zealand. That is Annie Throp.
Oh, yes.
Ah.
Such a good name, Annie Throp. You sound like a real character. And that is why you're married to the what was it called? The Magic Wishing Tree from Eden Blyton's classic
Enid.
book.
The
Did I say any of
Talking
those
about
things
the
right?
no, it's the Magic Faraway Tree, and it's Enid Blyton.
Did I say any of those words right? I
Eden-
said tree, right?
Is it true,
The
right?
Magic Wishing Tree. Oh.
Eden Blyton.
Annie Throp, that's the Magic Faraway Tree. You'd love to be married to that. It's magical.
I loved those
Moonface
books.
is in there, I think, and others. I don't remember much about it.
Etc.
Yeah.
There might have been a wishing tree in amongst there as well, but it's a faraway tree.
Right. I've merged a few things in there.
Maybe.
But I think that's maybe now you're winning Annie Throp.
I love Eden.
What a great name,
Eden
Annie Throp.
Blyton.
Enid Blyton. Is that right? I mean, in my defense, what a name.
Yeah.
Enid.
Enid Blyton. Everything about that is wild and fantastic.
Pretty great.
All right, one more time. A big thanks to Scott, Alex, Isaac, Aaron, Tess, and Annie. Keep fighting the good fight.
So good. I'm keeping
Hanging out with
the
those buildings.
Rialto Towers. Just keeping that one for myself. Dave, while I go back and just double check if anyone needs to be let into our VIP area, are there any other? Have we done any other buildings? I was thinking we've done Disneyland, which is sort of like a park thing. We did
the Empire State Building on the Patreon bonus episode.
So is this our first proper building episode?
First proper building, and there may be one coming up on our web series.
Oh, that's right.
A building of
the
sorts.
landmark. And Jess, you've never done the Sydney Harbour Bridge?
Oh, I've done it, but not as a report.
Okay. Say no more.
Then we found your secret love.
So what day is it today? What day is this episode coming out, Dave? Can you
This
help
is
me out?
coming
Christmas Day.
This Wednesday, the 11th of February. I mean, March.
11th Feb. Okay.
March.
Okay. Well,
That changes everything.
Even better again. Well, that means we got 4 people into the luxury lounge, aka the Triptych Club.
Yeah.
Jess, what are the canapes serving today?
Today we've got a bite-sized mini bruschetta.
Oh, love it. Love
and-
when you put into the accent when saying words like that.
Thank
Love that.
you. We also have spinach and ricotta pastry.
Just say it.
and I say ricotta.
Oh, come on.
And also little mini burgers.
But I mean, that's the kind of service you get in here. You'll get a little bit of pretense.
Yes. Not too much, but just enough.
Just a wafer thin.
Just a little bit.
So I'd love to welcome in from Apple Valley in America, maybe in Minnesota, MN, Noel Laguerre.
No, again.
So good to have you in it, Noel.
Yeah.
We've also from Cambridge in Great Britain, Stephen Batt.
Stephen Batt.
From San Antonio, Texas in the United States of America, it's Christina Bailey.
Christina Bailey.
CB.
And finally,
KB.
from...
Fucking idiot.
Oh, what is it?
KB, yes.
Oh, well done. I can't see it written down in front of me, so I was just having a punt.
Either can Jess.
Yeah, that's what I'm impressed.
I just pay attention.
And finally, from London in Great Britain, Gaurav Kumar.
CB. That's who I meant.
You were hoping for a CB.
It's really
That's a
But Kura,
GK.
I'll take Kura. I'll take goalkeeper. Thank you so much.
So thank you so much to you all for your long-term support. It really, what do they say? Keeps the lights on here at Do Go On headquarters. And thanks to all our Patreon supporters. We appreciate it so much. That does bring us to the end of this episode. I've really enjoyed this one, learning about the Eiffel Tower. I love that you've sort of opened up a whole new genre of topics we can do.
Yeah. I was actually looking at the previous ones we've done in the last few weeks and thought, we really had some varied topics lately. What's something that we can keep going that's, a different type of topic? So if you have a suggestion for something that we have only done a couple of times, or maybe a topic we've never done before, or kind of topic, you can always suggest one in the link of the episode. There's a little thing you can click there, or go to dogoonpod.com, and you don't have to be a Patreon supporter if you want to suggest an episode.
Yes, anyone can do it. It's there. It's an open form that you can fill out. If I'm saying that right. Enid Blyton. It's really thrown me. So follow us if you want to on social medias at Do Go On Pod, and that's across all social medias, including at gmail.com if you want to email us, or our website dogoonpod.com. And that's probably the best place to find about any upcoming live shows. If you're listening to us when this is coming out, we're doing the Melbourne Comedy Festival coming up, but we're quietly in talks with getting around Australia and hopefully internationally a little bit later this year as well. So keep your eyes peeled on there if you're listening to this down the track. We might be coming near you.
There's also merchandise. There's merchandise. Are you laughing coming near you?
And he heard it. He heard it and he hoped no one noticed, but I was already looking at him going, oh.
Oh, no.
But if you are lucky, we might be coming near you.
Oh, we got pretty bad aim over here. DoGoOnPod.com is also where we can buy a couple of T-shirts or a pin badge.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. There's, I think, 3 different T-shirt designs at the moment. There's just the last little handful of one. Saw someone bought the original one recently as a present, and I was thinking, oh, geez, that must be one of the last very few of those.
Yeah, it might have been the last one.
Oh, right.
So there's only, maybe only a couple left of our original design, and then we've got 2 more designs up there as well, and a pin. And yeah, it's great.
Yes, get involved. All right, well, until next week, as we always say here, look after each other and yourselves.
Goodbye!
Later!
Bye! Never say that again.
This podcast is part of the Planet Broadcasting Network.
Visit planetbroadcasting.com for more podcasts from our great mates. I mean, if you want. It's up to you.